part with theater, and my minor is in children's theater, so we're happy to have her speak to literature and theater and how that, of course, is very much a part of public speaking, no matter the language that you do that in. So I know she's tight on schedule, so I'm going to turn it right over to you because I see you've already got your program good to go. All right?
Thank you very much. Well, before starting with this, let's say, lecture, I would like to share some thoughts about the university these days. We are going through a very hard time because one of our students had committed suicide, which has been very, very sad. And I just wanted to let you know that the university is activating all the protocols, the investigation, speaking with the students, making psychologists available. But it has been really, really hard, and maybe today, being here at the university, you've seen some posters with information. We are doing as much as we can. We are tremendously sad. We wish that this had not happened, but I just couldn't start my lecture without saying something. No, teachers are human. We commit mistakes, and although I do not belong to the faculty of medicine or whatever place it is, I belong to the humanities. I feel really sorry for the student, for her family, for the teachers, etc., etc. So I just wanted to say that. Anyway, welcome again to Universidad de los Andes. We try to do our best in teaching and enhancing the humanities in our students, but sometimes things happen, unfortunately. So having said that, now I go to my topic, which is trying to motivate you as teachers and as students to see the importance of learning English as a second language. And I would approach this lecture from different perspectives that you will notice immediately. Once I start speaking, you will realize, oh, she's going this way. Okay, so I hope you'll enjoy it. I hope I will be able to motivate you. I love teaching. My colleagues know it. I really love it. So I hope to transmit that love to you today. So the title of the lecture is English as a Second Language. Well, dear, and I'm getting a bit old, so I need to wear my glasses now. Maybe some years ago I didn't, but now if I don't wear them, I don't see anything. Well, dear English-speaking union authorities, teachers, ladies and gentlemen, and especially dear students. I'm very grateful to have been invited to this event and to be able to share with you the love I feel for the English language. Today, I stand before you to emphasize the paramount importance of learning English as a second language. In our increasingly interconnected world, English has emerged as the lingua franca of global communication, commerce, and culture. Its significance cannot be overstated, and here are some compelling reasons why mastering English as a second language is crucial. First and foremost, proficiency in English opens doors to countless opportunities, whether it is pursuing higher education, seeking employment, or participating in international collaborations. In my case, I've been able to travel all around the world thanks to my knowledge of English. Believe it or not, I never thought about it when I was studying. English is very important then. It enhances one's ability to compete and succeed in the global arena. In fields such as science, technology, business, and diplomacy, English proficiency is often a prerequisite for advancement and leadership. Furthermore, learning English fosters cultural exchange and understanding. We need it so much today in a world that is in crisis with different wars in different places of the world. As a language spoken by people from diverse backgrounds around the world, English serves as a bridge that connects individuals and facilitates meaningful interactions across borders. By embracing English as a second language, we gain access to a wealth of literature, music, films, and ideas that transcend cultural boundaries, enriching our lives and broadening our perspectives. Moreover, English proficiency promotes economic development and innovation, as you probably heard in the morning's lecture. In an increasingly interconnected global economy, English serves as the language of trade, investment, and entrepreneurship. Companies seeking to expand internationally require employees who can effectively communicate with clients, partners, and stakeholders across different linguistic and cultural contexts. By equipping individuals with English language skills, we empower them to participate more fully in the global economy, driving innovation and economic growth. Additionally, learning English enhances educational opportunities and academic achievement. English is the language of instruction in many prestigious universities and academic institutions worldwide. Proficiency in English not only facilitates access to higher education, but also enables students to engage with a vast array of academic resources, research publications, and scholarly discourse. Moreover, proficiency in English enhances students' ability to participate in study abroad programs, exchange opportunities, and research collaborations, enriching their educational experience and prepare them for success in an interconnected world. In conclusion, the importance of learning English as a second language cannot be overstated. As we navigate an increasingly interconnected and multicultural world, proficiency in English is not just advantageous but essential. Therefore, let us embrace the learning of English with enthusiasm and determination, recognizing its transformative power in shaping our lives and shaping the world for the better. Although all the reasons that I have mentioned before are very important, there is something about the English language that can help us look at the world and express our ideas in a particular way, and that is the beauty of the English language. The English language is rich and diverse, characterized by several key features. First is flexibility. English is a highly flexible language with a large vocabulary and a wide range of syntactic structures. It can accommodate new words, expressions, and linguistic innovations, making it adaptable to various contexts and purposes. Second, borrowing. English has borrowed extensively from other languages throughout its history, resulting in a vocabulary that includes words in Latin, in French, in German, in Greek, and in many other languages. This borrowing has enriched English with a diverse array of words and expressions. Third, Variety. English is spoken in numerous varieties worldwide, including American English, British English, Australian English, and many others. These varieties differ in pronunciation, vocabulary, grammar, and usage, reflecting the cultural and historical diversity of English-speaking communities. Fourth, stress-timed rhythm. English is considered a stress-timed language. This may sound strange, but it is. What does it mean? Meaning that stressed syllables tend to occur at regular intervals, regardless of the number of syllables between them. This rhythmic pattern influences the pronunciation and prosody of English speech, which is extremely beautiful, especially in the field of poetry. If you can read poetry in English, do it. It's beautiful. It seems, and this is my opinion, but sometimes it seems that the English language has been constructed for poetry. Because of the syllable system and the syntax of English, it is perfect for the sounds and the musicality of poetry. And this is because I'm a literature teacher. These characteristics, among others, contribute to the richness, versatility, and global prominence of the English language. The beauty of the English language lies in its rich tapestry of words, its melodic rhythms, and its ability to convey profound emotions and ideas. Here are some aspects that contribute to the beauty of English. First, its expressiveness. English offers a vast array of words to articulate thoughts, feelings, and experiences. From the simplicity of everyday speech to the elegance of literary prose, English allows speakers and writers to convey nuance, depth, and subtlety in their communication. Poetic potential. English poetry, with its meter, rhyme, and imagery, showcases the language's inherent musicality and beauty. Poets throughout history have crafted verses that captivate the imagination, evoke powerful emotions, and illuminate the human experience, demonstrating the expressive power of English. Literary heritage. English boasts a rich literary heritage spanning centuries, from the timeless works of William Shakespeare and Jane Austen to the modern classics of Toni Morrison and J.K. Rowling. The beauty of English is evident in the enduring power of these literary masterpieces to move, inspire, and provoke thought. Cultural influence. English has become a global language with far-reaching cultural influence, allowing speakers from diverse backgrounds to connect, share ideas, and engage with a wealth of literature, films, music, and art. This cultural richness adds to the beauty and vibrancy of the English-speaking world. Clarity and precision. English is known for its clarity and precision, which enable effective communication across different contexts and audiences. Its straightforward syntax, coupled with a wealth of synonyms and idiomatic expressions, allows speakers to convey complex ideas with clarity and elegance. In essence, the beauty of English lies in its expressive power, cultural richness, and ability to connect people across borders and generations. As a language of literature, poetry, and everyday communication, English celebrates diversity and complexity of human experience, making it a truly beautiful language. This explains in part why Charlemagne stated, "To have another language is to possess a second soul." Yes, because as another person, Flora Lewis, American journalist, declared, learning another language is not only learning different words for the same things, but learning another way to think about things. We could express this in a metaphorical way by saying that one language sets you in a corridor for life. Two languages open every door along the way. And this is what you are doing today. By learning another language and expressing ideas in another language, you are opening new doors in your life. Let me show you some examples of what I've been saying. David Cristóbal, an English linguist, known for his extensive research on the English language, particularly its history and development, has indeed commented on the beauty of Shakespeare's language. I cannot avoid dealing with Shakespeare. My love for Shakespeare appears everywhere. In his various writings and public engagements, Cristóbal has highlighted the richness, complexity, and enduring appeal of Shakespearean language. One notable aspect that Cristóbal often emphasizes in Shakespeare's contribution to the expansion and enrichment of the English vocabulary, he states that Shakespeare coined and popularized thousands of words and phrases. Let me share some examples. For example, the word schoolboy was created by Shakespeare, which is so normal for us today, such a common use where, well, the word schoolboy, written all together, was created by him. So he popularized thousands of words and phrases, many of which are still in use today. Cristóbal celebrates Shakespeare's linguistic creativity and innovation, recognizing his ability to capture the nuances of human experience through vivid imagery, metaphor, and wordplay. Shakespeare did express the importance of language and its role in communication and understanding. While he didn't specifically address the learning of a second language, many of his plays touch upon the broader themes of language and communication. One such example is from his Merchant of Venice, where he wrote, in the words of Lorenzo, very important character there, where he says, "The man that hath," this is in Elizabethan English, by the way, different way of writing the verbs and pronouns, etc. That will be another topic, but anyway, just in case it catches your attention, these endings. This is Elizabethan English, spoken in the 16th and 17th centuries. "The man that hath no music in himself, nor is not moved with concord of sweet sounds, is feet for treasons, stratagems, and spoils. The motions of his spirits are dull as night, and his affections dark as Erebus. Let no such man be trusted." Mark the music. Mark means listen to the music. While this quote doesn't directly address language learning, it does highlight the importance of being attuned to the beauty and power of language and the arts, suggesting that those who lack appreciation for such things may be lacking in depth and integrity. In Twelfth Night, another Shakespearean comedy, Feste, which is one of my favorites, the clown, often makes use of language in public settings, particularly through his witty wordplay, puns, and songs. His role as a jester or fool extends beyond mere entertainment, He serves as a shrewd observer of human behavior and often uses his clever language to comment on the events unfolding in the play. Festus' linguistics abilities are showcased in various scenes throughout the play. For instance, in Act 2, Scene 3, Feste engages in a verbal exchange with Sir Toby Belt, Sir Andrew Aguecheek, and Maria, displaying his wit and humour. Additionally, Festus' songs, such as The Rain It Raineth Every Day, provide commentary on the themes of love, folly, and the fleeting nature of life. And here I will show an example of his wit and how he plays with words, repeating them, changing the syntax of a sentence, and of course, making people laugh. And he says, "Two faults, Madonna." He's speaking to one of his masters in the play. "Two faults, Madonna, that drink and good counsel will amend. Forgive the dry fool drink, then is the fool not dry. Bid the dishonest man mend himself. If he mend, he's no longer dishonoured. If he cannot, let the butcher mend him. Anything that's mended is but patched. Virtue that transgresses is but patched with sin. And sin that amends is but patched with virtue. If that, this simple syllogism will serve, so if it will not, what remedy? As there is no true cuckold but calamity, so beauty's a flower. The lady bade take away the fool, therefore I say again, take her away." No? So he is, in a sense, changing all the situation and the circumstances so that the one that is taken away is the lady and not him. No? And he's playing with words. Another good example is Don Pedro, a character in William Shakespeare's play Much Ado About Nothing. Don Pedro is the Prince of Aragon and serves as a noble and charismatic figure. While Don Pedro does engage in public discourse and conversation in the play, his use of language is more formal and diplomatic compared to the witty and playful exchanges of characters like Benedict and Beatrice in that same play. As a prince, Don Pedro often speaks with authority and gravitas, particularly when addressing matters of politics, courtship, and honor. In public settings, Don Pedro's language reflects his status and leadership role as he interacts with other characters, including Claudio, Hero, and Leonato. His speeches and dialogues contribute to the development of the plot and themes of the play, such as love, deception, and societal expectations. He says, "My love is thine to teach. Teach it but how, and thou shalt see how apt it is to learn any hard lesson that may do thee good." No? A good message for today's world. Overall, while Don Pedro's use of language may not be as colorful or comedic as some other characters in Shakespeare's plays, it is nonetheless significant in shaping the narrative and conveying the social dynamics of the world in which he inhabits. Another beautiful example can be found in Portia's famous speech on mercy, which we are going to listen from her.
What a strange nature is the suit you follow. Yet in such rules
They're in the middle of the trial,
as you do proceed.
and then she delivers
You stand within his power, do you not?
this beautiful speech.
Do you confess the bond?
I do.
Then must the Jew be merciful.
And what compulsion was there? Tell me that.
Now she starts.
Mercy is not strong.
Here she is.
It droppeth. It's the gentle rain from heaven upon the place beneath. It is twice blessed. It blesseth him that gives, and him that takes. 'Tis mightiest in the mighty. It becomes the throned monarch better than his crown. His scepter shows the force of temporal power, the attribute to awe and majesty, wherein doth sit the dread and fear of kings. But mercy is above this sceptred sway. It is enthroned in the heart of kings. It is an attribute to God himself. And earthly power doth then show like his gods when mercy seasons justice.
And she goes on. Beautiful speech, memorable, and you can see how in poetry and in verse language accommodates, no? And you have some elisions there, some accommodations, so that it sounds as the playwright wants. These few examples illustrate how literature often portrays the importance of speaking well in public, whether it be to sway opinion, defend justice, or resist tyranny. Through memorable speeches and dialogues, authors convey the enduring impact of persuasive language and public oratory on individuals and society. Despite the beauty of Shakespearean speeches, I want to add one more idea before finishing this lecture. In 1984, the novel written by George Orwell between 1947 and 1948, Winston Smith, one of the main characters, reflects on language and power. And he says, "Don't you see that the whole aim of newspeak is to narrow the range of thought? In the end, we shall make thought crime literally impossible, because there will be no words in which to express it." This quote encapsulates Orwell's exploration of language manipulation in the dystopian society of 1984 and its role in controlling thought and dissent. The quote also showcases the significance of language, rhetoric, and public speaking in literature and their impact on characters, society, and power dynamics. In other words, how language can be manipulated for good or evil. In today's world, every day we read endless fake news. We listen to people talk without saying anything, or worse still, cover lies with beautiful words. This is why speaking in another language or your own language is not intended to fill spaces or to be considered, but rather to tell the truth. Words that do not reflect truth remain empty, have no life, and therefore disappear. Today's public speaking competition is a great opportunity to use language properly, not only to decorate a theme with words, but to communicate a beautiful and true message that transcends and contributes to our way of conceiving life and the world we inhabit. Thank you very much for your attention, and I wish the competitors good luck.
Thank you so much, Paula, for taking time out of your busy schedule. I want you to know that she holds a bachelor degree in literature, specializing in English linguistics and literature from the University of Católica today, a master's degree in English literature, 1550 to 1780, we saw in your examples there, University of Oxford, England, and a PhD in Shakespeare Studies. Currently, she's the director of the Studies diploma program at the Institute of Literature, a full professor here at the Institute of Literature at the University of Los Andes, and the principal researcher of a special project 12211612, very mysterious, Building Bridges, Comparative Study of Domestic Spaces in Selected Comedies by Lope de Vega and William Shakespeare.
It's
Quite a resume.
wonderful, that project. I really enjoyed it.
And
And most of all, I'm a literature teacher. I love it. So if anyone wants to speak or write an email or whatever, I'm super available. Despite the amount of work we have here, I've been to her school in La Serena many times, giving lectures and talks. So
Wonderful.
yeah, thank you very, very much. Good luck. Enjoy the rest of the day and the best will win.
okay, thank you. We can get our PowerPoint back on. Is there somebody in the room that knows how to do that? Because I'd like to take this time to introduce our final heat judges, which are in the hot seats right now. You think your seat is hot. They have to come up with who is going to be first place to send off to England, and that is no easy task. We should be on, I believe, slide 31. That's not going to be any easy task because you're all very good speakers already, obviously. So again, I have to applaud you for the accomplishment that you got this far. It's not easy to come to a strange place and speak amongst strangers. It's something that you might be comfortable doing at your own school. Some people aren't even that comfortable in their own setting, in their own school. Some people aren't even that comfortable in their family. There's a lot of very strong, opinionated people. I come from a large family where there's 7 brothers and sisters. I'm number 6 in the lineup. And so I had to learn how to speak out to be heard. I had, big brothers that were linebackers on the football team that, intimidated me or my friends. So I think it's really important that you give yourself an applaud because it's not easy to even get this far. And it's not all about who's going to get that first place position. It's about the process. Every time you get up, you get better at it. You're more comfortable with it. Sometimes the audience will bring you to life. Other times they'll make you a little bit more hesitant. You need to learn to speak on your feet, impromptu, like we did earlier. You need to be able to speak to what you wrote in your speeches and be able to speak to why you selected certain things and what you did. And so I do think it's important that you give yourself credit where credit is due. So give yourself a little pat on the back here. You made it this far. Not to feel bad if you're not going to go on to the next round, but you will be here to support the ones that do go on. It's going to be a good sport about that. The people that we have lined up for you as our judges, Francisca Kelly is the founder of Buku Education. I don't know if you are familiar with that, but if you hang out in the bookstores, you will get an idea about the kinds of books that she writes. She is targeted for younger learners, but her stories, we need to go to where the judges are. No? There we go. Thank you. Okay. She targets younger learners, but of course, her background is incredible. She has She's a Chilean that is very world knowledge, came back to live in Chile and founded this program and found colleagues to work with her that write about Chile in English so that the rest of the world that doesn't know Spanish can learn about it. So she is an incredible source, and we're glad to have her on the team. We have Jeremy Gould from the Ministry of Education. He's the coordinator of the National Center of English-Speaking Volunteers ever since 2012. He holds a bachelor degree in sociology and Spanish, and that came from Salzburg University in the UK. So we have all the way from the Ministry of Education on down to all of the schools that are here representing and hearing your speeches. We also have Lillian Turney. She's the country manager from Cambridge University Press. Many of you use Cambridge probably in your school programs at your schools. She has been involved with Cambridge Press here in Chile since 2007. And she is contributing to the teaching of English in Chile, working with the schools, higher education organizations, and she is also involved with the Chilean British Chamber of Commerce. So she's a busy lady, and if you're from a particular school that's looking for some sort of workshops to get lined up, you could probably talk to any one of those judges and get some things lined up specifically for your staff in your school. So thank you very much. It's not an easy job to determine who's going to be first place because we have some really good speakers already. And as I've mentioned before, some of you might feel that you're better at it than others, but if you're going to be in any kind of leadership position, you're going to have to learn how to speak your voice. You're going to have to give your opinion. You're going to have to be able to do that on the spot. You're going to have to do your research ahead of time so that the next time you're asked, you got a better answer. And that is just part of the whole learning process. I want you to know that there are many very famous public speakers that throughout their childhood had speech issues, speech impediments, problems with stuttering, and they overcame them. Somehow, some way, they overcame them and became public figures. So it is amazing when you put your mind to it, if it's something that you think you're good at, whether you go on to first place or the next final round or not, if this is your passion and you think you're good at it, keep working at it because you can get better. Some of the examples that you probably have heard from before, King George VI had incredible stuttering problems and was very nervous about having to get on the radio because at that time, the king had to give his address to the whole rest of the world that they were going to be going to war. Well, that, even if you don't have a stuttering problem, could make you stutter. And he overcame that and became a very good speaker. And some very interesting techniques on what he did, very unconventional ways to overcome that. Winston Churchill, very famous for all of his speeches. And all through his childhood, he had problems with public speaking. You'd never know it the way that he threw his weight around amongst all of it. And I mean throwing his weight around. He was very bossy and impressive and worked his way through the ranks in leadership and became a very strong public speaker. Joe Biden, the president of the United States right now, he has to practice his speeches regularly before he gets in front of the camera because he still has issues with that. It's not going to go away. People that you would know from the theater world, James Earl Jones, Darth Vader's voice. Had all kinds of speaking issues when he was younger. And now he's one of the most famous speakers. He's known for just his voice when we don't even see his face. Sam Neill, who you may know from Jurassic Park as the Doctor. Marilyn Monroe. All of them had speaking issues in their youth and overcame them. So you need to stay with your passion and your determination, whatever it may be, and not think that just because you didn't advance to the next round, that you don't have talent inside of you, right? So please, I want you to encourage those that do get to go on to the next round, because it's not going to be easy for these judges. They are going to have to decide amongst who can go on. Let's see. Here we go. So these are the lineup of who we had, and we, on the next one, do we have? No. Okay. Once again, technology, my friend and my enemy, doesn't always do what I ask it to do, no matter how I use my voice. So we will have to say it was not an easy choice, but because we love to give your parents credit for your given names, the order will be in reverse order of the alphabet. So instead of starting with A, we'll go down to the Z. And we will, to determine who goes on, they will say their speech again when called up, answer questions to our new judges. They will look at the scores, average them. While we have a break, they'll make a decision and then decide who's going to be first, second, third, and honorable mention, and who's going to take the trophy to put in their school for the year until it comes back again to us again next year. Okay? So, our first speaker, will you congratulate Taehwan? Not quite yet. I'm going to give all of the directions so you can just be patient a little bit. But I like to see the enthusiasm. Okay. The next speaker will be Mikaela B. Equal races represented here, and we've talked a lot about the equality, so that's good, that's good. The next speaker will be Nolan. And our final presentation will be Cristóbal. So, I will remind you that the judges will all enter their scores into the computer, and as they enter them, our timekeepers will be in charge of giving the same warning that we get the first warning when you spoke for 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Your second warning when you spoke for 5 minutes, and your third warning is going to be when we say finish. Okay? So when you see the second warning, wrap it up, get to your conclusion. Now we want to make sure that the judges are actually on the final heat rubric, and they can take their notations on the papers and then enter in. So we'll do the same thing we did this morning. The speaker will go ahead and do the presentation. The judges will have another 5 minutes or so to enter the information into the computer. After we hear all four, we'll take a break while they decide the final decisions on who to award the medals to. Okay? So that'll be the process that we do. It'll be the same sort of thing where you have your 5 minutes to speak, your questions, and then we will go to, it's okay. Then we will go to the question and answer period and have the next speaker. So the judges will have a chance to enter for each speaker. So there'll be a little bit of time in between. And after we make that announcement, we will let you know then who has to prepare another speech, because you get to take the trophy home, but you also have more homework to do, because you're going to have to come up with another 5-minute speech according to that theme. So we'll get you set up with some sessions to help get things written in person or Zoom or whatever you will need for that. And so I think without further ado, we will go ahead and start with our first finalist, Taehwan. Using your notes or without, it doesn't matter. Like I said, feel free to keep your notes so that you stay on tap.
And again, just so we're clear again, this does not mean stop. This means that you have 30 seconds left, okay? If you have to stop, we will stop, okay? Okay, good luck. All of you.
Our influence on morals and its subjective nature. We all love to believe that we are good and moral people, but what does that truly mean? Have you ever questioned yourself on what the nature of morals really are? Are they an objective truth or a subjective opinion? Shakespeare once stated that there is nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. The statement implies that nothing is objectively good or bad, but our own opinions is what gives morals its definition with its subjective nature. Every individual forms their opinions through their culture, their history, their ideas, and their perspective. What one person like you may consider horrible, you may consider amazing, and vice versa. Throughout our history, we also witness changes and examples of moral subjectivity. As societal norms change, we are reflecting it by our class consciousness and our knowledgeable minds. But this progress is never linear, for there will always be conflicts, there will always be different opinions clashing against one another, and there will always be debates. Reflecting on my own experience, I once held the belief that artificial intelligence was morally neutral. I believed that it could cause no harm whatsoever. Of course, after talking to people who were negatively affected by this technology, I had to reevaluate my stance. My experience is yet another example on how one individual can change their morals and views throughout their time by gaining more knowledge. But it is also an example on why we should question ourselves and our views. For when we question our beliefs, that is how we can improve. Historical milestones such as the creation of the Geneva Convention, the success of the women's suffrage movements, or the abolition of slavery are all testaments to humanity's will, their ability to change, to question themselves and their beliefs, their moral standards, their social changes. But it is also an example that when we do go against the status quo, it is hard, it is difficult. Because to go against this norm, you have to go against the prejudice and the power structure that had been set for years. Now, some people may state that the existence of laws themselves are proof that morals are objective, but that cannot be further from the truth. For even our own legal system cannot focus on one answer. Such examples from BBC and Penal Reform International states that there are 55 countries that still upholds and practices the death sentence, while other establishments such as the European Union believes it to be cruel, unjust, and inhumane. These contrasting opinions are an example that even in our legal system, our morals are complicated, that they are diverse. It is also a warning to anybody that putting our entire morals based on just our legal system is wrong, because our legal system cannot give us a clear answer on everything. In certain cases, such as personal morals and laws clashing against each other, there is the 1972 Andes flight disaster, where 49 people crashed in the Andes Mountains and had to survive. Knowing that they will all die from starvation, they decided to come up with the decision of performing cannibalism. Of course, we as a society believe cannibalism is wrong, evil perhaps. But for those survivors, it was their sanctuary, it was their solution, it was their only option, their answer. It begs us to question every variable that takes into place when we are making our opinions, when we are forming our morals or ethics. In conclusion, I believe that morals are undeniably subjective by nature. They are complex, they are diverse through every individual, and there are so many variables that we cannot account for. But that is the true beauty of morals as well, because we can change those morals as a collective, we can think on it, we can question ourselves, and we can advance through it. So I ask all of you who are listening to me right now to question yourself, to question everyone around you, to question somebody that is right next to you. For that is how we can improve, by questioning ourselves and questioning everyone around ourselves, and advance as a species, as a collective, and individual. Thank you for listening.
And each of the judges can ask a question at this point, so we can just go down the line. And anyone ready with a question?
Which part of the line?
I can start.
Start.
So Taehwan,
Yes.
that was great. What do you think is the biggest influence on one's subjective morals, and why? What do you think is the biggest factor?
I believe our education is the biggest factor, because that is our primary way of understanding and learning new informations. And the information that we have is the only limit we have when we are making our opinions. And so the education is the biggest and the most necessary factor.
Thank you.
A question from each of the judges. So go ahead and ask a question.
I can go, please?
Yeah, please.
Congratulations, Taehwan.
Thank you very much.
My question is there anything that you believe or have believed in your life that you have questioned now that you're older?
Honestly, I believed... There was a lot of things I did believe, but recently when I was getting into economy, I had to re-understand how our economy truly works, and I had to question whether it was right or wrong. Of course, there was many flaws in the system that I could understand, but I'm also a child and I cannot understand fully perfectly what our system is. But it does lead me to question how we live, how our society functions, and if this is the perfect society. Because I believe that we can progress and we can advance as better people. But yes, I have questioned many things such as our system.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
Do you believe that questioning yourself around this topic gives you a way of feeling that you're different from others, or that you feel like apart among your friends, among your pals?
No, not particularly. I assume that people always have questions because humans are curious beings. I don't believe that I am better or worse just because I am questioning my own self. I just believe that, just like everyone else, I am stepping through life one step at a time. Maybe stumbling many different times, but I am stepping through it, and I think that is how we all progress. So, no, I don't believe that we are any different.
Thank you. Okay, can you give her Your attention to our next speaker, please. We're going to hear next from Nolan.
Here again. The title of my speech is A Utopian World. 2 years ago, Chilean radio station Radio Bio Bio documented a sitch where 5 thieves broke into a man's house to presumably commit a burglary. However, this wasn't your ordinary burglary, because the man proceeded to defend his family with the gun he legally owned, resulting in the death of one of the criminals. Despite how bizarre this is, I believe most people would agree that the consequence was fair and just, right? Well, wouldn't you be surprised to know that that man is currently in custody for homicide and his trial hasn't even started yet? Today, we'll be analyzing morally questionable situations like these, as well as uncovering the pessimistic reality of our desire for a perfect world and taking a look at our pursuit for an objective perfection. But what if we backtracked a bit? Did you notice anything wrong with the story? Because believe it or not, most people would. Why was the man arrested for defending himself? His wife was there as a witness, and not to mention the thieves too. Perhaps we're asking the wrong question. Maybe we should be asking how. Yes, how is it that in my entire neighborhood everyone knows where the local carjacker lives, which is not a joke, but the man who spends time and effort into getting a weapons license and to be able to defend his family gets arrested? I'm sorry, you can't do this. Ladies and gentlemen, this is unfortunately one of the simplest many examples I can give you of my country of, you guessed it, injustice. Although injustice happens everywhere, all the time, randomly or not, bias or not. But if there is anything to learn from this, it's the fact that the man who truly tried to build his ideal life was the one who truly got punished. Although, ideal or not, we find ourselves into a very interesting problem if we try to apply a quote-unquote perfect life to nearly any person, or living being for that matter. Sites like VictorPest have written on how American ethologist John Calhoun proved this by supplying many, many rats with a practically infinite amount of food and water, only for them to die out because they literally had no reason to keep on living. Sites like The Guardian have written articles on how even billionaires suffer from this. Heck, there's even a SpongeBob episode where Squidward goes to his perfect world only to realize it's a loop and hate it, and I was a little loud there, I'm sorry. You're probably just wondering where I'm going with this. You see, a lot of us tend to try and strive for a perfect, ideal life, but in reality, that world doesn't exist. Or perhaps you could say it does. Perhaps you could say it's the world we live in right now. The world we've hated, cried in, suffered upon. It's what makes us truly alive, human. A world with everything to have is effectively a world with nothing to do. However, what if this world did exist? Could its objective perfection be real? Well, ironically, this problem has already been talked about a lot, and it is one we usually see in sports. Gymnastics, ice skating, and sometimes more niche sports like professional yo-yo competitions, which I'm actually using for this speech for that matter. In fact, yo-yo prodigy Hajime Miura once performed what could be considered to be one of the most difficult routines ever done in history at the World Championships, and he got 7th place. 7th place. And don't get me wrong, it wasn't that everyone else was better than him, and he knew he would fail. And what happened was that he decided to end his 4-year-long winning streak to prove a very valuable point. The rules don't matter. The championship tries to determine the one who's truly the best, the one who's truly perfect at yo-yo. But there's no correct way to play it in the first place, and much less is there any way to be able to objectify it. And alas, this brings me to the end of my speech. So let's recap and see what we've learned. We've learned that we shouldn't try to create our own perfect world, and we learned that we shouldn't try to strive for any kind of objective perfection either. Instead, I have a better proposition. Live how you want. No, seriously, it's impressive how many people realize they have been doing the wrong thing until it's too late. So consider this a start. A world with everything to have is a world with nothing to do. And a perfect world is subjective after all. Thank you very much.
Go ahead, judges.
What would be for you the perfect or ideal world for you?
Right. Well, what I try to achieve with explaining with the perfect world is that most of us really want a world that doesn't have any negatives to it. So if I'd ever consider a perfect world, it would probably be that. But unfortunately, I know that it's a vision, a world that it doesn't exist. That's it. Thank you.
Actually, kind of have a similar question, but thinking sort of about everything that you said, what country do you think, if you were to have to narrow it down to that, if you were to think about the whole world, what country do you think best exemplifies the utopian society that you're thinking about, and why?
Wow, okay.
Hard question.
Right. Well, personally, I don't know much about geography, and much less do I know about countries at all. I'm quite ignorant in that matter. Although I'd probably say somewhere around Europe, perhaps Finland, usually countries that have a very well-developed socioeconomic system tend to have people who are happier. And I think people who are happier tend to say that they are really comfortable with their lives, which could be considered an almost perfect life for that matter. Thank you.
Excellent.
Nolan,
Hello? Yep.
you mentioned SpongeBob,
Yeah.
right? Are you a fan?
I was, I guess. Not that I don't like it.
If you had to choose a character from SpongeBob that you think reflects someone who's looking for things to be perfect, which character do you think it would be?
Jeez, wow, okay. Right. Well, you could also say SpongeBob, as I kind of exemplified him in the speech, but I think he kind of learned his lesson. Perhaps, funnily enough, what's it called? The antagonist, little guy. Plankton. Thank you very much. I think Plankton could perhaps be a really good example of it because he's always the villain of the story. He's always trying to take control. So I guess you could say in his shoes that he's always trying to make the world perfect for himself.
Okay, thank you.
Of course. Thank you.
Okay, we're good to go? All right. Could you quiet down and give your attention to our next speaker, please?
Tell me when to start. Self-compassion, the key to changing the way we think and perceive. It was 3rd of March when I hear the phone ring and it's my friend on the other line. There's a party at 11. I look at my watch, it's 8. I have 3 hours to get ready. I go to my closet and suddenly I get this overwhelming sensation. I have nothing to wear. Everything is going to make me look ugly or washed out. I take an hour and a half to get ready, and as I look at myself in the mirror, I think, I look terrible. I don't want to go to this party. I owed my friends, so I went anyways, and as I greeted them, I could feel someone staring at me. This guy is probably judging me, and he's right. I look hideous. Now, same story, 3rd of March, you know the drill. The phone rings, I go to my closet, and all I could think about was, I have so many clothes to wear. Everything is going to make me look amazing. And if something doesn't matter, because I'll choose something else. I take an hour and a half to get ready. And as I look at myself in the mirror, I feel powerful and confident because I'm going to have an amazing time. I go, greet my friends, and I feel someone staring at me. Thank you. This guy probably thinks I look cute. And if he is judging me, that's too bad for him because I'm having a good time and that's what's important. Do you see how, in this story, our thoughts impact the way we perceive things? And that is directly related with our mood. When we are able to change that mindset, we can see the world in a completely different way. A negative mindset brings toxic thoughts, and toxic thoughts elevate our level of stress. When we are stressed, our body produces a hormone called cortisol. Cortisol, or hypercortisol, does not only affect us psychologically and socially, but it also affects us physically. The National Institute of Health has backed up multiple research that say that when our body has high levels of cortisol, our immune system is suppressed, which in other words means we get sick more often. But what is the key to changing the way we think and perceive? The answer is self-compassion. First, what is compassion? Compassion is described by Oxford dictionaries as, and I quote, a strong feeling of sympathy for people or animals who are suffering and the desire to help them. Kristen Ness is a psychologist with a doctorate at US Berkeley and currently a professor at the University of Texas. She describes self-compassion as the simple process of compassion inwards, treating yourself the way you would treat a friend, and treating us with self-kindness. A few weeks ago, I was talking to my mother and she told me this very interesting story. There were two women chatting at a cafeteria, and one says to the other, I applied for this job, but I'm probably not going to get it, plus I'm gaining weight. The other woman looks at her and she goes, of course you're not going to get the job. And you did gain weight. I look at my mom and I say, Mom, why didn't you say anything? This woman has no right to treat the other one that way. And my mother, very wise woman, she looked at myself in the eye and she goes, but don't sometimes you treat yourself that way too? How many times do we talk to ourselves that way and normalize it? Have I said those exact same words to myself before? To conclude everything I've said, if I could go to the girl at the first story, I would give her a hug and tell her that at the end, everything is going to be okay. To finish, I would like to quote a poem from a Latin poet, Ana Villalobos. What if a poem were just for me? What if I were audience enough? Because I am. Because this person here is alive, is flesh, is conscious. Does it count? Yes, it counts. The way we perceive things does import. Yes, finish. Sorry. Sorry for the finish.
Judges, go ahead, ask a question.
Okay.
Mikaela, hello. Do you think we should include more self-compassion in education in our country?
I really like that question. Thank you. I 100% think we should. I am a teenager, and teenagers are more likely to be exposed from social media. And social media is a very, very relevant way of having less self-compassion because it shows us the life of others, how being perfect when it's not perfect. Yes.
Thank you.
I'll go next. Mikaela, I'm wondering if you could help me out here. I'd like to know what might be some of the best strategies to help develop a more self-compassionate mindset. How do I start? How do I get to that?
I was reading, I mentioned in my speech, Kristen Ness. I read an essay about her, and she said that a very useful tactic that we can use to help be in the present and have self-compassion is to understand our feelings, and for that, and acknowledge them. And for that, she uses a technique of mindfulness. Mindfulness is a technique not only, as you heard, of meditation, but also being in the present. Breathing and feeling your feet on the ground. And knowing that at the end, everything is going to be okay.
Mikaela, I want to understand for you, what do you think is the difference between self-compassion and self-esteem? Because in a way, they are very close or connected.
Yes, oh, thank you. Self-esteem is what we think about ourselves. When self-compassion is being able to be self-kind to ourselves. So, when I'm talking to friends, I'll try to put this in a situation to tell the difference. I can look at my friend and go, you're pretty, you're amazing, you're top of the notch. And that is if I was myself talking to myself, that would be more rather self-esteem. Now, if I go and tell that same girl, I know you're having a bad day, but don't worry because tomorrow will be a better day and you're not alone and this mistake does not make you a villain or you're going to go and do better next time. That, if I was talking again, two girls in my mind, that would be more accurate with self-compassion. I don't know if you can tell the difference, but self-esteem is loving yourself and self-compassion is more of accepting and understanding yourself.
Okay, thank you.
At least that's how I understand it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, give your attention to our next speaker, please.
The mirage of good and bad. My boy, I have taught you many things regarding almost everything I know. I have taught you about history, ethics, philosophy, and life, said my grandfather. Yet despite this, there is one lesson that you must never forget, he said. And what is it? I replied. It is to be a wise man. Do you know what a wise man is? It's to be like you, I told him. My grandfather simply chuckled. Oh son, I'm no wise man. But I do know what a wise man is. He looked at me with his serious yet calm expression. A wise man is he who knows how to take the right path. What an excellent and elegant answer to such a complex question, I thought to myself. And with that lesson, I traveled, like a lost explorer in the vast desert of my mind. Yet unbeknownst to me, the map that I used didn't guide me to the truth, for the lines of the universe were much more blurry than what I could imagine. So I traveled onwards towards a mirage, the mirage of good and bad. But I wasn't the only traveler that had sought the truth, yet unlike me, some could see past my misconceptions. One of these men was Kenneth Gergen, a social scientist and the main author on social constructionism. The NYU has a study on this theory, and they state, the theory of social constructionism postulates that much of what we believe to be real, what we conceive as reality, is actually the outcome of a dynamic process of social construction. With this definition, we can state that unlike nature or the universe, social constructs are created by us. And with that definition, we can also say that good and bad are also social constructs created by us. But we don't only create our constructs, we also create our own personal narratives. An example of this is a study by one poll, which shows that 46% of Americans believe, hear me, that they're the best person they know. The best person. So it's really shocking to us that people really believe that, but we create our own personal narratives that affect the way that we view our lives. But Kenneth wasn't the only person that had been interested in the truth. For long, long ago, there was a wise man, you could say. The famous philosopher, Friedrich Nietzsche, and he stated something similar. If a mosquito could create its own language, it would immediately, if not instantly, think of good and bad. What does Nietzsche state that? why would the mosquito immediately think of good and bad? It is because if an insect were to hypothetically become a social creature, just like us, it would need these concepts to survive. For social creatures need rules and guidelines to be able to coexist. We can see throughout our human history the different guidelines and rules that we have made to be able to live in peace, in harmony. For example, the Hammurabi Code, the Ten Commandments, the Criminal Code, the Roman Law, even the Human Rights Act. All different instances of different rules that we have created along our history to be able to live in peace. But good and bad, good and evil, isn't only seen in our rules that we make or in the biggest forms of our societies. It can also be seen in the way that we view our lives. We view our lives, when we talk about ourselves, we talk in stories, and stories rely on good and bad, and the conflict between them. Well, this conflict generates the conflict and the drama of a story. But the thing is that we see this in everything that we tell in all of our media. For example, when we read a book, when we watch a movie, when we watch a television show, or when we hear an oral presentation about good and bad. All different instances where we are seeing stories, conflicts, and the clash between these two concepts. And although I investigated so much, found so many definitions, I wasn't closer to the truth. And I found myself more lost than what I had ever been. In the distance, in my desert of my mind, I saw my mirage disappear, and in its place, I saw the Hammurabi stone. When I reached it, a feeling of sadness and angst invaded me as I fell to the ground. And as I looked up to the stars, I thought to myself, if everything is just a man-made construct, if everything is created by us, then would the answer even be valid if I too was creating it? But in that moment, I heard the voice of my grandfather call behind me. I stood up and looked back, and to my amusement, the writings of the stone had changed to what my grandfather had said all those years ago. The wise man is he who knows how to take the right path. And in that moment, that instant, I realized that the truth was in front of me this whole time. For when I reached the mirage and found nothing in its place, I foolishly thought that good and bad didn't exist, but that wasn't the answer. The answer was that good and bad could be created. I could choose to be kind, to be helping, to be caring, to be good. And when I did so, when I chose the right path, I would become what my grandfather told me to be all those years ago. I would be a wise man.
Just go ahead and ask a question.
I'm not sure, the judges might need a minute for the question.
Yeah. Maybe more than a minute.
Maybe more than a minute.
Should be an actor.
That's my goal, that's my
You weren't
goal.
even lying about the theater kid thing, Jesus.
Will the judges write their answers? I wanted to say thank you to all the participants. You guys have been great. And
Hey, enjoy your trip in England, right?
Lillian, do you have a question for them?
I don't know if it's a very interesting topic, because what is good and what is bad, it's very difficult to decide. And don't you think that not only education is there, but religion too?
yes.
And sometimes even education and religion could not be the last word, you know? It's because, what do you think about it? Because in the name of religion or in the name of well-educated people, many bad things have happened. So what do you think about it?
About the aspect of religion with good and bad?
About what is at the end, what is when you decide between good and bad.
Yeah.
It's not only, it's very difficult, that
Yeah.
tiny.
Well, I feel that good and bad are things that they're not tangible. But good and bad can only be seen by the effects of the actions that we do. An action can never be either good or bad, but the effects can be classified that way. And I think that that's the powerful thing of good and bad. And what Shakespeare said all those years ago with there's nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. Yes, thinking makes it so, and also the results, I would add to the quote.
Like the way you think.
Thank
you.
Cristóbal, so I have a question for you, and I'm following your logic here. And so I guess my question, if I had to paraphrase it, would be, if good and bad, if that dichotomy is just a mirage, how can we interpret some of the atrocities that we see in our life, like war, or genocide, or poverty? How can we not box those into good and bad?
Well, the thing is that we have to understand that war, for example, I'm going to put a very dramatic example, but for example, Hitler. Why did people follow Hitler? I really like history, and that's an aspect of history that really intrigues me. And it is because in the context of time, the German population were suffering after the First World War, and they saw that the Jewish population had more money, and they started feeling a feeling of anger and of injustice. And sometimes when we face injustices, our clear judgment gets clouded, and we do things that are too exaggerated or too violent. So I feel that seeing the effects that Hitler caused, we can say that he was not a good person, because we can see the millions of people that he killed, and you can strive to make your country a better place, but you can't do that by killing millions of people and by sending your country into a war. So that's the reason of why I think that that good and bad isn't so clear, so people can follow someone who maybe doesn't have the best intentions. And when we see the effects that they caused, then we can say, oh, why would have someone followed Hitler if he was so bad?
Okay.
Thank you.
Cristóbal, let's move to the future a bit.
Okay.
Let's imagine that you're a dad and you have a little daughter or son, 4 years old, kindergarten, more or less. We usually, to little children, we go, no, this is good for you. Eat like this. This is bad for you. Don't touch the plug or whatever. Do you think as a parent you would use good and bad when raising up your child?
Well, I feel that there is a certain point of your education where you have to, first of all, say which things you can do and which things you can't, because we can easily identify which things are going to do harm to someone. If we don't eat properly, if we don't sleep enough, we can see that they have bad effects. So I could tell my child, you know what, sleeping is important, eating well is important. You mustn't be mean to other people, because that will give you bad results, not only for the other people that you're going to be mean to, but you're going to distance yourself from other people. So I really feel that when you're raising a child, I'm a teen myself, so I don't know that much. But I'd imagine that I wouldn't tell my 4-year-old son, you know what, nothing is truly real and good and bad doesn't exist now. But I imagine that when he of course knows more of what are the things that he should do that are good for him and good for others, then I would start telling him, well, start thinking more about if good and bad is really real, and how, even if it isn't, we must always try to be good. And I think I would say the quote of my grandfather to him, that the wise man is he who takes the right path, and that is what we all must do, try to take the right path.
Thank you.
Okay, well done, all of you. We will take a 15-minute break and try and come back here 5 to 4, so that by 4 o'clock we can actually give out the certificates. and make our announcements. So we'll take a 15-minute break now. There should be coffee set up. You know where the restrooms are. My helpers are going to check on the cord for me. See if ¿Viste que era Theater Kid?
Total, por favor.
More participants, I wonder if they named them from about to name them from the place, second place, first place. So we don't know who's getting first.
That's gonna be so cool.
You're right, really cool. You know
I immediately dropped my competition site.
but I don't know where. My name's Jonathan.
Yeah, probably not.
Probably not.
What's yours?
Okay, the 2024 theme was there is nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. There is nothing either good or bad. An audience that's talking while you're trying to talk, there's nothing good or bad, it's all in your head, right? That was the theme that was selected for this year. And I would have to say that the ESU in London is very good at choosing an open-ended topic so that pretty much anything that you have interest in, you can find a way to fit the theme. They try to have it a very big, wide idea. So good or bad can go to a lot of different kinds of topics. And we saw quite a wide variety of things here today. In the years past, it's been very, very similar, where it's very open-ended. The first place winner is then going to have to come up with another 5-minute speech, because when they go to the competition, they will interact with everyone, and on Wednesday they have to give the speech that relates to a great leader can change the world in an instant. So they can decide politically what they want to say and not say about that. They will give that speech on Wednesday, and then they will have further elimination heats on Thursday and up to leading to the Friday final heat. And that will be in London. So for us, we would like to thank all of our participants, and we're going to call you each up so that you can get your certificate, and we'll start here and we'll do kind of a little horseshoe shape so we have all of our 10 participants up here and we can give you the certificates for that, okay? So we have invited Jonathan Cullen. You may remember I said in the beginning, one of the pictures, Jonathan was the president of ESU Chile, and since then has been involved in the international, he was the president of the international committee for ESU. So whenever I have suggestions on how they should do it, I just tell Jonathan to take that to one of his committee meetings. So we'll have Jonathan help pass out the certificates. After we have the certificates and the picture for that, you guys can sit down and we will call up our winners. We'll have a picture to pose for each one of our winners, and then we'll invite everybody to come back up to stand with them to see who's holding the trophy, okay? That's the plan, all right? So as I call your name, you can go to the far end, And are they in alphabetical order? Okay. Okay, so first we have Paula, and she's from Orchard College. All the way to the end there as we add Camila. We'll do individuals after. We'll call everybody up first. Okay. No, stay up here. Yeah. We're making the horseshoe.
Camila, congratulations. Marvelous. Good job. I love it.
Carolina Castilla Macanaz from Colegio Cumbres. Cristóbal Clavijo from Colegio Internacional SEC.
Maybe your granddad should come and get
Isabela Muñoz Acuña from Lincoln International Academy. Mikaela Bennett Fisher from Instituto Hebreo Dr. Chaim Weizmann.
Thank you.
Mikaela Richings Briseño from the International School La Serena. Nolan Morgali from Windsor School.
Nolan? Hey, congratulations. Thank you very much. Thank you. Well done. Thank you. You stand here. Of course. Thanks.
Paula Valdez Izquierdo from Villa Maria Academy.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And last but not least, Taehwan Jang from Colegio Pedro Valdivia, Las Cumbres.
Okay, so now we have to make sure that we get all 10 in our photos here. Do we have our photographer here, our official? Oh, you're snapping. Okay, good. Okay. Jonathan, if you peek over behind, I'm going to get on the other side of this.
So I'll be here, in the middle somewhere, sort of. Does that work? You coming, Lennon?
Yeah, it comes.
I'm
working on it.
You took the long road.
There was a lot of other chairs. So.
Yeah.
So make sure everybody's in. Okay.
Yes.
There we go.
Put yourself behind. Okay. All right.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3.
All right, everybody's in the photo.
Proud faces.
Good. 1, 2, 3. We say
One, two, three, cheese.
ESU. 1, 2, 3. ESU. Okay.
Send all those pictures to ESU at ESU.co, please. What if I send the selfie? Does that work too? That was work too.
Villa Maria. Where are you from, Nolan?
So, 4th place honorable mention. Beautiful green, Irish green, that's good. It's a good color to wear any time of the year. I want to point out to you that the medal we give you does not have the engraving on the back. So we'll pose for all the pictures, and then we'll take it back, and we'll engrave your name and the place that you were for the 2024 ESU, and then we'll get it back to your school. Okay. So just so that you know, we're going to pose for all the pictures, and then we'll scoop it back up. Okay. Okay, so we'll start with fourth place, honorable mention. And that will go to?
To go to Taehwan from Colegio Pedro de
I was supposed to put the medal on. Oh. We can do that again. That was a dress rehearsal. Congratulations. Marvelous job.
And from our books and bits. Yes, ancient Egypt. So anything that you don't quite know about that yet.
Congratulations.
I need to put the medal back, right?
No, keep it. We're calling up everybody at the end for our runners-up and for the trophy. So, okay.
White for
Third place. Third place? Yeah.
So, I'm innocent.
Third place goes to Nolan Morgali from Windsor.
Congratulations. Well done. Okay, we good to go? Yeah, it's okay. Great. Thank you very much.
Now the thing is when we do second place, it's just like in all the other competitions that then we know who's left for the first place. So let's give them their due and congratulate the second place. Okay?
Second place goes to Mikaela, Bennett from
Congratulations. Okay, excellent.
There's no surprise here, but first let's go to Cristóbal.
Well done. Congratulations. What an amazing, and here's a
Books and bits.
works and bits for you.
Thank you very much.
Well, technology, well done. What an amazing event. And congratulations to everybody who participated today. What a wonderful, the level of just your delivery was incredible. The ideas, the preparation, unbelievable. Thank you very much.
And also everyone else's. I really think that we all have done a very good job today. I wanted to thank my classmates that are watching it and thank my grandfather for that.
Valerian and Cristóbal, please.
And Trinidad?
Trinidad, can you come up, please?
Yes.
You pass on the flame, passing the flame on to all your passion and your energy.
Very fun, Trinidad. Come over here.
Yes,
Okay, so Trinidad is on here from, let's see, where, let's find you. There you are. So, okay, Trinidad is on from last year, and it was at Coudray School all last year on display, and now it will travel to your school to be on display, and you'll have to bring it back and let us know for next year. All right? So we officially pass it to you. To hold the trophy high. There we go.
With the shirt and tie, it's kind of.
Okay, everybody else with your medal. With your medal. Make sure we get everybody in. Can we get everybody in?
At the count of 3. 1, 2, 3.
Okay, good. Well, I'd say give congrats all around and thank you for coming today. And we'll be live streaming if he makes it all the way to the end. They don't live stream the whole thing, so you gotta make it to the final.
Okay, yes.
No camera, man. No pressure. No pressure, but everyone believes in you, okay? You're representing a country. Yeah. Good job. Thank you all, and go ahead and come on up and give him his congrats.
Can we give a...
With the trophy.
Solo segundo.
Judges?
I was present.